Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning to everyone. I want to welcome you on today on behalf of the Chatham County Gang Prevention and Intervention Commission. Beautiful Monday morning, and we thank you all today for being obedient that we are doing this virtually on today. We know the purpose is sincere in reference to what we're dealing with COVID-19. So thank you all for the sacrifice. We're going to give you a brief update on a couple of parables that we've been working on. The last couple of meetings since this bill has been signed into law by Governor Brian Kemp. The focus, of course, is prevention and intervention. And so the last couple of months, you as commissioners and those that have been partnering with us from the different municipalities have been focusing on programs that we would present not only to the Chatham County delegation, but to those municipalities in Chatham County, moving with a focus of introducing several programs for 2022 that will focus on prevention and intervention. Today, I want to make sure we observe the time and kick right into getting some dialogue and some information from our municipalities, from our county police department, our Savannah Police Department, as well as our Chatham County District Attorney's Office, just an update. And then what we have are programs that we want to give you an update on, and two major programs, one that will hopefully make a big impact that has already worked in Chatham County, and that is Midnight Basketball. And we're hoping that Dominique Stokes will still be able to join us with the Community Team Coalition out of Atlanta. So we want to start off with Chief Jeff Hadley. And thank you, Chief, from Chatham County for allowing us to have your time on today. Chief Hadley.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
We can hear you, Chief.
Okay. I'm sorry. I think you asked me a question, and I probably didn't hear the front part of it. Did you need an update from me, or?
Yes, if we can just have a brief update. And Chief, let me thank you once again for the work that you and Chatham County continues to do. So just giving us a scenario of what's happening in the rim of Chatham County.
Okay, thank you. Well, in the unincorporated parts of Chatham County, obviously, we connect with all the municipalities by way of jurisdiction. So we share a lot of information with Port Wentworth, Pooler, of course, City of Savannah, Garden City, Bloomingdale, Tybee. We touch every one of those jurisdictions with the challenges that we have. What we've seen relative to crime in the unincorporated parts is it certainly has been on an uptick relative to aggravated assaults, property crimes. What we tend to have a problem with, we've tried to do a lot of public education, is theft from vehicles in which firearms are stolen. 99% of our stolen firearms are from unlocked vehicles, a completely preventable crime, in my estimation. We try to push that out. We do public education, but it's just a constant struggle for us. I think we're upwards around 55, 60 firearms stolen from vehicles this year. I think we had about 75 to 80 last year. Certainly know the City of Savannah experiences that as well. We also, what we've seen is a Gateway 204 continues to be a problem area for us. Obviously, it's a very transient area with the, say, low budget hotels, people that stop in Savannah and leave, the drug trafficking that tends to take place out there, the overdose situation that we have here in Chatham County. I would venture to say in the last month, we probably saved 6 or 7 lives through the administering Narcan. So obviously our opioid problem continues to plague us here in Chatham County. and I'll leave with this, are what I tend to see a trend, certainly in the last probably 6 months, and we need to make some better inroads into the Hispanic community, is, violence amongst the Hispanic community in the Quaco Road corridor. We have a high concentration or population of Hispanics in that area, and we need to make better connections with that community in order to be able to prevent and to have better prevention and intervention methods within that community. With that said, I'll be happy to answer any questions that anyone may have.
Thank you, Chief. And we want to ask those that are commissioners that are on the line, if you have a question, please in your chat, if you would just let Monica know, and then we'll bring you on. We just want to make sure we don't delay you and you're asking a question. But Chief, I like what you said in reference. I'm very familiar with the Quaco Road area of Nassau and Pinelands, that area with the Hispanic community. We've served many times with Feed the Hungry, and poverty becomes a big part of what we're dealing with. What can we do with the community linking with you in Chatham County? I've had, you talk about community relations. I've had some of your officers even come and volunteer for our Feed the Hungry holiday dinners. And I know that community policing is a very powerful thing, a tool that works. What can we do in areas of connecting with you? Sometimes we often think that it's, just the police's responsibility, but we in the community, we need to have a linkage to you also.
Yes, thank you. And I appreciate that comment. I've often said, community policing isn't a spectator sport. It takes both the police and the community to make that really work effectively. So to answer your question, wherever we need to be, let us know. If you can connect us to certain events that are going on in the community, and we're unaware of those events, we want to know that. We want to be able to be there, be a partner, be a presence, get to know folk, build relationships. So when we're needed, we're much easier to reach out to. We make those personal connections, exchange emails, exchange phone numbers. So if there's something going on in the community or a particular neighborhood or a trailer park or wherever it may be, we're better served by getting that information quicker rather than reacting to it after it happens.
But Chief, also, let me ask you this. Do you see a level of escalation with the number of youth crimes that are being committed in Chatham County, or is it dwindling down? What's your perspective on the youth crimes?
For unincorporated, I think it's probably, when I say fairly normal, I haven't seen a spike or an elevation in our numbers relative to that, just at first blush. So I tend to think that they're, at least in our crime statistics, about what they were over the last couple of years.
Does anyone else have any questions that you might want to ask the Chief? I think we have from the DA's office, Mr. Stolfus raised his hand. Monica.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Christian Stahl for the Chatham County District Attorney's Office. Chief, appreciate your time as well. So I was at a C&T meeting about 2 weeks ago, and they were talking about the fentanyl and the massive amounts of overdoses that have been happening recently. And you touched on that briefly. Through your investigation and through your own police, how much do you think that the fentanyl that is coming in is gang related? Or do you think it's more just traditional drug sales and interactions?
My first reaction to that is drug sales and interactions. I mean, there may be some gang affiliation. How organized it is from a gang perspective, I don't really have my finger on that. I tend to think that, you may have some gang members that are selling and or using, or both, but how much it's orchestrated by the hierarchy of the gang, I'm not quite sure. I tend to think it's more, a side hustle, if you will, as opposed to it being orchestrated by the gang hierarchy.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Christian.
Okay. Any other questions? Well, Chief, we want to thank you. If you can just hold on, I know you've taken this great day apart on this great rainy day, and I thank you for your sacrifice. And I know we were expecting Chief Mentor had a prior commitment at the last minute. I don't know if anyone from the Savannah Police Department is on the line. So I want to make sure I didn't miss anyone on that end. While we're doing that, I want to give from our Chatham County DA's office, we have been working with our DA's office and great leadership on Mr. Stolf and Michael Edwards and others. And we were able to partner and secure a grant that we feel will play a big role in helping those that, have come into needing a little helping hand and some guidance to get back on their focus of doing the right thing. I just wanted to know if you could talk about our Show Me Your Guns grant that we recently partnered to work with, Mr. Stoll.
Thank you. I'm actually looking to see if Chief Edwards is on here because it is his program and I don't see his name. I will give you just a very quick, brief overview because of the fact that Chief Edwards is really the lead of this. Really what this grant was, there's only a few of the grants that were given throughout the whole nation. Many DA's offices and other agencies applied for it, again, throughout the nation, and we were one of the very few that was granted it. What it is it's an early intervention program. It's taking non-felonies, so people who do not have felonies prior. It's almost like people who are in an age bracket between, and I might mess up the numbers, Michael would know better. I want to say 16 to, I believe, 21 or 14 and 21. And it's for non-violent offenders who have a possession of a firearm, who have no record. That's the important thing, nothing with felons. Get arrested and have a firearm on them, but they did not use the firearm. So it's not somebody who has done anything of a violent nature, who shot at anybody, who threatened anybody, any terroristic threat, any ag assault, anything like that. It is simply that they may have had the backpack on them, which had a gun. It's an early intervention program by saying, look, we understand that a lot of the kids nowadays understand and they feel that they have to carry guns for their own safety. It's kind of something that has been shown to them forever, that the people that they're admiring, the people they're looking up to, they carry guns and that they need it for their safety. Well, we're trying to get into them early by saying, look, you don't need to carry the gun. It's not something that you need to have. Let's divert you instead of putting you into the punishment system. Let's divert the attention. Let's divert their drive, and let's put it somewhere positive. Let's not get them a felony conviction right out of the rip, because as we know, a felony conviction has a ripple effect that affects not only their life, but their family's life. And it is, we sometimes dismiss how drastic a felony conviction is on somebody. If somebody gets a felony, it affects where they live. It affects the assistance they can get from the government. As somebody who took student loans, I wouldn't have been able to get student loans if I had a felony. And we're taking that away from somebody, the ability to improve their self, their family, and their situations. That is a drastic thing. And so we need to take it serious, the effects that these felony convictions have. So the Show Us Your Guns program is really something to take these young, non-violent offenders with guns and divert their attentions and put them hopefully on the correct path.
Let me ask you this while we have you online, and I'm excited about the upcoming opportunity because it is a partnership, and we constantly say that it takes partnerships to do this. So many times we want to point at the police department, we want to point at law enforcement, and the question is, what are we doing? We just had a recent rash of shootings in the Fraser Home area and other areas across the community. Unfortunately, we lost a young man at age 14, and one life is more than enough. We lose lives on both sides. We lose the person that dies, and we lose a life for the person that commits the crime. With the Chatham County District Attorney's Office, are you seeing an elevation of youth offenders in the areas of, we rarely like to say this word gangs, or we would call it gangs or organized crime?
Representative, I heard the chief say a while ago at one of our meetings that there was an epidemic of gun violence, and the youth violence that we are seeing, I don't want to say there's an uptick. I don't want to say that it's more than normal. What I can tell you is at this current moment, over the last few weeks, I've seen an uptick in that. Now, overall, how the year plays out and the overall statistics, I don't know how to affect it. What I can see is that over the last month, there has absolutely, it is undisputed, that there has been an uptick in youth violence with guns, and unfortunately, not just having the guns, but using them. I'm seeing shootings of people that are 14, people who are 12, kids who are 12, 9 in cars that are getting shot up. It is, over the last couple of months, it's startling, to be honest with you. It's something that we need to look at and we need to be proactive. I've been speaking with many of the police officers at SPD, and it seems that there is a situation between West Savannah and Garden City, and it is escalating, and it's going to end very, very badly.
See, that's something that, you know, you were talking, I think we were talking about information disseminated to the community and organizations. And when you said that, Mark, and trust and believe, my mind has written it down. I've written it down on my tablet to say, now we need to move and have a meeting with Garden City to find out what we can do. We know that even in Garden City, the Empowerment Center is located in the heart of the Garden City, and we're doing things upcoming. But now it gives us even a more mandate to get more young adults involved. We have a program called New Beginnings, which deals with conflict resolution in the Chatham County jails. And we talk about the levels of mediation. How can we in the community, all these agencies and all these 2,000 plus churches, and make a cry out to the pastors that are out there in the community and everyone, how can we get on the same plate to, I understand, that diffuse the possibilities of more violence? Because what I'm detecting from that statement is that there are more possible frictions that are out there that have not been handled. And maybe it's someone that they could trust in the community. Maybe it's that teacher, maybe it's that business owner, maybe it's that pastor, maybe it's a gymnasium that they frequent, something, because, you know, when you have these family feuds that are constantly going on, when we first came into Garden City, I've seen the movement of young people that are blatantly involved with illegal activity, and they're bold. And we had many of them come and volunteer with our programs, but we got to do something to diffuse it, or we're going to have more casualties. I guess that's the scenario.
I agree. And one of the things myself and 88 Blazes actually spoke with some of the family members that were feuding. One side of the equation showed up, the other side didn't. I mean, we went to Carrie Hilliard's and we spoke with them. And these families understand it, they know it. And these families have already been affected by gun violence, by having relatives incarcerated. This is something that, you know, it's deep rooted, but it doesn't mean it can't be solved, but it is going to take a lot of effort, and it takes that dirty work of getting your hands out there. And by the way, I don't know, I did see some people from Garden City on here. They've done a fantastic job. They got their hands dirty. They were there sitting right next to us on these occasions. They're trying, and, you know, you don't want to leave it to you don't want the district attorney's office and law enforcement to handle it, because it gives a connotation, it gives a taste in the mouth of people sitting at the table. You need the other people, you need the community, and to hold them accountable and to say, look, we don't want this. His name's escaping, but there was a gentleman who was there, who was one of the councilmen. Fantastic young man. Gosh, his name is escaping, but he was there. People like that, the ones that they see in their community every day, that's what it's going to take to really help solve this problem, because it is a deep rooted feud.
Well, we're gonna put some nuggets in that and see what we can do to follow up that part of the conversation, because I know that the mediation part is big, and one of the things that I know that the district attorney's office has been trying to do is to collaborate and get a cohesive working coalition together, so we don't duplicate services, and we want to work with the leadership of Garden City and what is already in place. So thank you so much for your work, and Chief, thank you for the work that you do. I want to, Monica, if we don't have Chief Mentor, or do we have anyone from the Savannah Police Department? It looks like I might have seen Major Heron.
Yes.
Am I correct?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you so much for being here on this morning, and I really appreciate your time. I just want to see if you can give us any updates or information from the recent shootings and murders that are in Savannah. And I want to commend, you know, I remember, and I know you remember, in 1959 when we had not 1959, I wasn't here, but in 1991 we had 59 murders. And I know you remember those numbers compared to the numbers we have now. So it has happened to the point that law enforcement and community has done a great job. We're not where we used to be. And so we're trying to get the numbers as, to be zero. But I just want to commend you all and let the community know it is not as large as it was back then. So thank you for your leadership.
And just to give an update, Representative Gilliard, just as Chief Hadley expressed the issues that they're having, we're having the same issues with internautos, primarily being fueled by the youth. And 9 times out of 10, it's involved trying to locate a firearm. I heard someone mention earlier about, youth feeling the need to walk around and carry firearms to feel protected, and we're running into that kind of situation, all the time. In addition to the overdose situation and periodic shootings. In September, we had a little bit of in August, rather, we had a little bit of a lull for a minute, and these things kind of come in waves. But recently, in this weekend in particular, we had a little bit more, activity than we've seen in a couple of weeks. And so, on Monday, this past Monday, one of those incidents ended up being a homicide of a 14-year-old. Though we've been able to solve that case, we still lost a 14-year-old. And just without going into any particulars of the case, his family probably needed some intervention, some resources, that the family, didn't have. We're running into a lot of youth where the home situation is just really not the best. And we're more in tune now that as we respond to calls, if we see situations where we can offer resources to people and make referrals, we're doing that. We have the front porch, we have the behavioral health unit. We were just given some information on a link where our officers can, if somebody needs homeless services or financial services, we can type that in and it'll give us the local operations that address those areas. And so we're making our officers more resourceful as far as being able to make those referrals on those things that are not necessarily, deemed as police work, but we see these things as being hurdles for some of these families, and so that we're doing those things.
Well, thank you so much. I can, thank you for recently when you have a situation, a crime, or murder. Sometimes it gets dragged out because people in the community are not responding to give the information. I feel bad for the family of this gentleman that was 18 years old, because here again, we lost 14-year-old, now we're losing an 18-year-old. We affect both of those families. But I want to also say to the community, we got to do more to provide information. And if we see something, we need to say something. And it's our kids, it's our community. And now more than ever, the proliferation of guns do not die, but people do. So everything and anything we can do, I just want to say, Major, we're putting together, and Chief Hadley, as well as Mr. Stoll from the District Attorney's Office, we're working to get a cohesive list of organizations and all the above, working to try to put this app together that it will be really a first responder, that people won't duplicate and overlap services. We work with the front porch, we work with all these different entities, and we got to work more together instead of duplicating services. I know that we're in COVID-19, but now we got to get the churches acclimated and involved, because I know that a lot of churches are not having services, but we got to get the information out on how we can push the issue of parenting and knowing what's going on with their children. Because we were in Atlanta, Georgia at a hotel during the session, and we checked into the hotel, and about 4 hours after we checked in, about 2 o'clock in the morning, I get a call from the hotel. They had busted out the window of my truck and all the above. When they found out who did it, there were young people that were out in Atlanta, Georgia at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, and they were between the ages of 10 and 13. So, you know, whatever we need to do, but thank you all for joining us. Do we have any questions from any of our commissioners or anyone in reference to our law enforcement? Anyone?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is DeAndre Grant, and what I found when we go into the communities, they say, well, the police only come in a community when something happens, and they don't appear after that. And what I try and explain to them, you know, when we went into Fred Wessel after that shooting, and it happened back to back, we went in there the first time, the police did a cookout. They asked for a resource officer. They came up with an agreement to put a resource officer in there. I don't know the details of that situation, but they put a resource officer in there, but they still don't say anything. And then we got organizations like Bullhorn Crew and Reach Our Youth, Save Our Youth. We go in there and we try and get answers to relay, but then they don't want to talk. So how do we all get on the same page to where we make them feel comfortable to communicate with us?
Well, I jump in on that one to say that, you know, it's a community conscience. You know, we got to have a conscience to let people know that they must say something. The mayor's saying it, you know, the chairman's saying it, people are saying it, people all over the community. We in the community got to say it. We got to get the street committee to say it. That it's not you're not a snitch by opening your mouth. There are lives that are being lost. I remember so many times that you just have to have that conscience of we're not going to fear. We're gonna be able to take a stand because we want to live. We want quality of life, and enough becomes enough. Because when you don't say something, what happens is it accumulates to the point that it's going to happen again. People are walking around with the authority to take lives and to do illegal activity, and they're just being, you know, they're gonna do what they want to do when they feel that the community is irresponsible. I know there's an air of fear. There should be, but at the same time, if we don't say something and we don't give the information, it's going to happen. You know, the average neighborhood watch, we got to get more young people involved with neighborhood associations. There are a lot of neighborhood associations, but most of those are elders that are leading. We've got to work with those neighborhood associations. We got to get young people to join. We got to get young people involved. And that's why these programs that we'll be talking about in just a few minutes are important as a tool to get them involved. And then when the young people get involved, we got to get the parents involved. The parents have got to get involved to know, not just know where your children are, but get involved with what your children are doing. So we want to ask if anyone else has any other questions before we go to the next segment. And DeAndre, that was a tremendous question that we got to continue to work on, man. It's a work in progress. Any other questions?
I want to say, Carl, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so one of the things I'm concerned about is that we're dealing with young people who are, their thought process is a lot different than ours. So when you're talking about ways to reach them, we have to get out of that traditional way. Anything that's new is not really accepted in Savannah because they're afraid of it, because either they're not a part, they don't understand it. Young people have a different language. They have a different way that they move and they communicate. If we already know that, then it behooves us to do something different. Traditionally, even with the police officers, they're going to have to be willing to partner with people that are in the community. I see these young people every day and not just when something happens. I appreciate Mr. Herron, because what he said was they're trying to track down the resources so they can refer young people to where we're suggesting, can we have those referrals out before something happens? It shouldn't be that when something happens, now you get the resources. We should find a way to put it on the ground. There's numerous of organizations in Savannah that's able that could be what they do, putting the information on the ground for young people to have it before they get into trouble. That's what intervention and prevention is for. I think that Mr. Gilliard is on it when he says we have to intervene and prevent. And so I'm interested in finding out what we can do to partner with the police department and any other organization, first responders, on how to get the information out before an incident happens. And it doesn't necessarily mean that we want to have young people come to the police station, because we know that's unrealistic. Young people shouldn't have to go to the policeman to get the resources that's available for them in their community. It should be at the dentists, the barbershops, any place that we could think of to put this information. That's where it should be, where young people are at. And that would be my suggestion moving forward in terms of the police department and the Chatham County Police Department.
And I know, Savannah, you said he has played a major role in that. And yeah, let me say this. When we say prevention, and this next segment is important because the prevention end is where it's at. And it's a longevity to it. It's not a quick fix. Years ago, there was a great program that got a lot of young people off the streets, and it just wasn't sports oriented. So I want to give Dr. Cooper an opportunity. I know we have his son here on this morning, but I want to give you a quick update on. We have Show Me Your Guns, which is which is about to come into fruition starting in October, hopefully. We'll be talking about the Saturday Morning Academy, which that program is a program on Saturday mornings from 9 to 12 once a month. We're going to do it once a month in 4 key areas, from West Chatham to South Side to Midtown, to East Side. And those are children that are ages 6 to 13. And it's a powerful program dealing with mentorship, matchups, and getting to know their community, enhancing all their academics. It is not just about, fun, but it's a leadership program. And they get a hot breakfast every Saturday morning the average child might not get. Poverty does play a role in it. Mother and fathers working on Saturdays or not getting a chance to be able to focus on them, but getting them and keeping them acclimated so that they can go through this academy. Every 8 weeks, there's a level of graduations. We give them that appreciation. We introduce them to mentors that they might not have ever met. We take them to the Georgia ports and all the above. We're going to take them around their community to let them know there is a great Savannah community. So we're working on introducing that in January, and it's looking good. We got with the Commissioner Tyrone Oliver from the Georgia Department of Community Affairs, the Georgia Department of Juvenile Justice, and we have a program called the Fresh Start Initiative, dealing with youth entrepreneurship and jobs, getting young people into jobs that turn into careers. We've met with Chamber, we met with some different business, the community. We're looking at giving them soft skill opportunities for training and ownership to those jobs that can be careers, and getting them placed into some jobs. We're going to start with the family members that are in the juvenile detention center, and then out from referrals from the community, from law enforcement to court system. It's called the Fresh Start Initiative. We also are going to be working with the Books and Balls program, which deals with the academics of SAT and ACT, and giving young people a chance to build their next level to college, and not only just 4-year colleges, but technical colleges and all the above. So this is a program that's already been working. It's already been running. We are going to be working with ESPN Coastal Radio on that, and Charlie has a program that is working and affecting our young people. They're going to college. They're going to technical colleges. They're starting their life on a career of education. And then lastly, we've got the Undercover Mentor program that one of our commission members introduced, and it's going to be under the auspices of the YMCA. And it is an outreach program that meets the kids right there on those community courts. It's not just about the basketball, as you will hear Dr. Cooper talking about. It's about the opportunity to give them a life-changing opportunity to be groomed, to be mentored, to have all of the tools they need to be equipped that failure is not an option. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Cooper. and or Mr. Cooper, his very capable son, who I've known Dr. Cooper for over 40 some odd years. So we're glad to have his son here today to talk about Midnight Basketball. And Dr. Philip Cooper is now the national president of Midnight Basketball. So we're looking forward to having it reintroduced. Before you play that video, Monica, we're going to have Dr. Cooper. Thank you so much.
So great. Thank you, Representative Gilliard. So currently at this time, as mentioned, Dr. Cooper is the national chair for Midnight Basketball, which is an organization that's been around nationally for over 35 years. The actual vision for Midnight Basketball is a safe, healthy community where generational wisdom guides the practices of youth and young adults, where preparation and education result in opportunity and employment. So a lot of times when people hear Midnight Basketball, they think, oh, you're just playing basketball late at night, things like that. But basketball is just the hook. The actual goal of Midnight Basketball is to serve and develop strong character traits among youth, ranging from the ages of 13 to 25. Back in 1994, when we had the first introduction of Midnight Basketball, the youth ages at that time were 17 to 25. But with the way changes have taken place, there's a need to, move that number down just a little bit so we can have more intervention and more opportunities to deal with our youth as they're developing. And so the way we do that is utilizing a unique and comprehensive program of organized athletic activities, educational and employment workshops, and ancillary services. Participants learn community responsibility and redirect their energies toward positive personal and social goals. Realization of these goals leads to increased graduation rates, decreased crime rates, self-sufficiency, and strong communities. So for us, the new version is going to focus on programs that involve health, employment, education, case management, recreation, construction apprenticeship, workshops, and cultural enrichment. And so we're excited to partner with anyone in the community just to bring this activity back. We know we had great success back in the 90s when crime was really, really high. And as we see those spikes coming back, just time to get engaged again. And with the relaunch of the national organization as a whole, it's just an exciting time for us to be able to participate. So that's Midnight Basketball in a quick nutshell. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us. But we're definitely ready to do the outreach and participate in the community as well.
All right. Does anyone have any questions in reference to Midnight Basketball? And I remember during the 90s when the program was kicked off and people really got engaged and involved. And one thing that I want to say I love about it, it's just not about basketball. It is much, much more. And to have Dr. Cooper and to have, this program come back to Chatham County, I just think the timing is immaculate. So are there any questions in reference to Midnight Basketball program? All right. Well, I'll say this in the presence of Vince Del Monte from Frank Keller's Boys and Girls Club. I know between the city, between the Boys and Girls Club, between a couple of churches that have gyms and, Garden City, Chatham County, etc. Anything we can do, we want to be involved. And what type of time frame do you think we're looking at in starting this program back in Chatham County?
So for this program, we're looking at possibly having a national kickoff at the first of the year, where we're going to invite pretty much all of the associates that we have across the country to come down so we can have that kickoff. So we're looking at reestablishing some of the partnerships that we had in the past. I know the police department was a huge participant for us. They actually at the time were responsible for helping us get our IDs and processing the individuals and having all the information set up for them so they could, when they came in the gym, they could just show their ID and everything was good. And working with organizations trying to figure out who our volunteers are going to be to help us manage some of the programs that we have. So we're looking at probably the 1st of 2022, like January. Right now, there's just a couple things we have to put in place. We're just trying to find one big speaker or person to come out to do our first ribbon cutting for us. So that's kind of where we are right now.
Okay.
Representative Ms. Pat still has a question. Pat Gunn.
Okay, Ms. Gunn?
Yes, not a question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, not a question. I was typing. I wanted to say kudos to the Midnight Basketball Program. It's a wonderful solution to the preventive that Sister Beverly talked about, prevention, aftercare. We need to have it. I think that Coach Bolavet is smiling from above because he was the person that started it at the May Street Y and another concept. So it's just exciting. And I also wanted to just go back just a little in terms of the confidentiality of our community. Beverly Trotter is on point when she says our children are not comfortable with the interaction with the police departments and district attorneys yet because they only see them when something happens. So this is an opportunity for us to build a village that includes them. And one of the things we have to also do, and it's very important, it's a heart piece, is that we have to build up more funds. I know it's out there in terms of when an incident happens with that family and you put an award out there and you put a $2,000 award out there for someone to tell you what happened. That's not enough money. And it makes the community think that those lives are not valuable because we do see when others are interacting with a killing that the money is a little bit higher. So we need to bring that money up and have it available so that we can validate that Black lives really matter. $2,000 is not enough for someone to say, I'm going to come and tell all on this mass shooting because they fear for their lives. We got to give a little bit more confidence, not to the money, but to the value of their lives. So I just wanted to share that this is an exciting opportunity. Representative Gilliard, you're making public policy, grassroots decisions for prevention, intervention, and aftercare. And I'm honored to be a part of this group. Thank you.
All right. Do we have any other comments in reference to Midnight Basketball? Any additional questions?
I do.
Okay, Ms.
Hi, Philip. How are you?
I'm doing awesome.
Great. It's great to see you again. I am so excited. I'm so excited. And I hope you guys are excited and willing to move with the community. As you know of, we've been trying to do this. We have been doing this thing for a few years. And with the YMCA on board, I think it's a great opportunity. I think they're saying, you know, listen, we want to be a part of this too. And I think together we can come up with a great way to reach our young people and use that to build a relationship in our communities. So my question would be for Big Dr. Cooper and Little Cooper, you know, what does that look like for you? Are you guys coming on in to the community? Because I know your office moved. It was a pillar in our community for years.
So, well, first of all, good to see you as well. But we're excited about the opportunity to re-engage through Midnight Basketball. I know in the past we had gyms on both sides of the city. So we had both the Delaware Center where we had our games, and then we also had games in the Caton Frazier complex. So we're looking at taking this and partnering with community organizations because we're only as strong as our partnerships. And in the past, our volunteers and our coaches and our leaders and the organizations that partner with us were really the engine that made Midnight Basketball work. For us, Midnight Basketball just ran pretty much from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. And then the sessions were garnered and the participants were able to get, you know, anger management training, how to go through a job interview, how to handle, you know, conflict resolutions. Are you going to the doctor to get your health check? All these things are part of what Midnight Basketball offers. And so being able to have community partners out here to join with us is something that we're very excited about doing. So as we're putting, you know, the final touches on ourselves to make sure that we're comprehensive, then we're going to start reaching out to the community organizations to say, hey, this is who we want to partner with. I know we can use your services. And even as you said, language has changed over time. we're going to need help with that communication piece. So we're looking forward to being back in the community and being active. We really, really are. And so the YMCA is definitely high on our radar as an opportunity for us to come in and participate. So, and I know Mr. Del Monte over the Boys and Girls Club has welcomed us with open arms as well. So those facilities have places where we can have those sessions for our participants when they're there. So this is just an exciting time so we can get back and do some things to help throughout the community.
Thank you, Dr. Cooper.
Hmm?
Thank you. I have a question for in Dr. Cooper's absence. I just want to know if he can still hoop.
Hey, I tell you what, he'll beat you in the free throw contest.
Yeah, I want to see that. I'll buy my tickets in advance. But thank you so much for taking time, and we look forward to finding out what we can do to help. It's important that we have some programs that have already spoken for themselves, and the new programs that are to come, that we get the resources. And
Definitely.
Speaking of that, I want to play this video before, and I made a promise to get you out within the hour. This is a very important video. Dominique Stokes is in Atlanta right now. He made a call. He's actually at a school conference, could not make it, but I know a lot about his program. This young man is, he and his wife have formed this organization that is doing so many things. They're not just doing youth entrepreneurship, and what you'll see, they're mentoring, they're paying people's rent and mortgage. They're doing food giveaways. He's taking these young people across the nation and giving them exposure to places they've never been, flying them on the plane to New York and all the above. Retired from corporate America. For him, he and his wife to do this, it is a very successful program in Atlanta. When we were working on this bill statewide, Dominique played a major role. We could not have done it without him, and so many of the district attorneys, the sheriff's association, the police associations. It takes a village, everybody. We were working on this for about 3 years. So I want to play this video, what he's doing in Atlanta, Georgia, with these young people dealing with youth entrepreneurship. It is called the Community Teen Coalition.
Your coalition is like another family. They're always here, and if you like to talk to the community, people that you give them some consideration, and you'll become on the right track towards the
Community Teen Coalition is a program that encourages youth entrepreneurship. CTC prepares and encourages youth to create a job rather than get a job. The program also gives kids strategies for today's business world. For example, how to develop businesses and soft skills such as effective communication, team building, public speaking, and decision making through CTC's antagonized vending card program. My wife and I, over the years, have offered potential teenpreneurs the opportunity to learn the basics of business and be exposed to successful educators, entrepreneurs, and corporate professionals. With the outstanding support of Walmart, Carolina University, Fulton County Schools, Grady Stadium, and Lakewood Stadium, the program continues to spark one success story after another.
All right, and I make a promise to bring Mr. Stokes back. Once again, the Community Teen Coalition, and that's one parable to what they do. Dominique has just recently, on last year, won the FBI award for his involvement and just taking this program to a whole nother level. Now this year in COVID, they got involved with paying people's rent and mortgages. I mean, getting grants, and these young people are on fire. We, with the Saturday Morning Academy, there is a component of youth entrepreneurship, but wouldn't it be great, because young people are selling the wrong product to get them to sell a good product. They're selling Italian ice. They're selling themselves. They're learning soft skills. You know, Dominique is going to look forward to coming down here to work with us on getting this established. I want to give kudos to Beverly Trotter, who's kind of been doing all of the above already. So we've got people already in the community that are already doing the work. We just need to look at branding and enhancing what they have and giving them the support. I want to say that coming up and possibly in November, the first week, we're looking at going into a special session for the Georgia General Assembly. With that, it is supposed to focus on reapportionment, but the governor has already focused on submitting a budget for fighting crime. I do want you to know that the Chatham County Gang Prevention Intervention Commission is going to submit something in that light in the line of budget. We need to help get the resources for these programs. We also are looking at submitting something to the Chatham County delegation coming up in our delegation meeting we have in December. We want to submit something to all the municipalities because it's going to take a buy-in from everyone, not just saying the state being financially involved, but everybody, the city, the county, the Pooler, Bloomingdale, Port Wentworth, everyone, you know, Tybee, Thunderbolt getting involved and getting partners to make these things happen. We're trying to get partners for the Saturday Morning Academy. We're trying to get not just, we know there are lots of jobs out there in reference to the Fresh Start program, but we're going to need some help with training and helping these young people with soft skills and their physical connections with clothing. You know, you look in this video and you see that they have the brand of t-shirts and all the above. These young people are going to need help with the simple items. If they're going on a professional job, shirt and tie, dress, shoes, all the above. So what can we do? Work boots or whatever we need to do when we talk about the Fresh Start initiative and getting them into jobs. And what can we do to strengthen the midnight basketball program and books and balls and all the, it's going to take resources. It will take resources. There's no way around. One of the things that I focus on with Feed the Hungry was, you know, I asked God, if I'm going to do your work, I need your resources. I write the vision, but I need some resources. So we can't struggle in our well-doing. I know John from SCAD is not on the line right now, but one of our focuses is he's going to be working with the business community and reaching out to them to say, what can we do? Can you help us with the connectors? Can you help us in partnering? So when we come back in October, I don't know if we're going to be able to get together physically, but we're asking you to dedicate some time. We're going to roll up our sleeves on a Saturday, and we're trying to get as many of our goals that we're going to set for 2022 to go into a submittal to these municipalities in the state to make sure we get the resources we need. So at this time, we want to open up for any last questions that you might have before we close out. Does anyone have any questions?
I don't even know if I'm on. Monica, am I on?
Yes, you are. Yes, you're on.
Okay, so I'm excited about what's going to happen with the Intervention and Prevention Commission. And I also want to bring to our awareness that we're dealing with young people who are 14 and 13. There's some things that we're limited to be able to do when you think of preparing them right now. They're unemployable right now, but we can create that space for them to be able to learn early. I think earlier when we talked about a few meetings before, being prepared. When you're dealing with young people, we need to be prepared. We're living in COVID days now, so we have to still do the work in preparation, waiting for us to have some relief where we can come out in the public again. I think that the community outreach is a great opportunity to get young people involved. They're looking for ways to get involved, and we just have to find a way to get them involved now, not later, because that's what intervention and prevention is for. And I just want to thank everybody who came here today that spoke on behalf of our young people, Dr. Phillip, the Chatham County District Attorney, the Police Department. Really appreciate your thoughts and your ideas and what you're doing to better our community for our young people. And I'm hoping that as we move forward, that we're able to fulfill those needs and to intervene and prevent our young people from destroying their lives and also destroying others' lives. So again, thank you for this opportunity, Representative Carl Gilliard.
Thank you, Ms. Trotter, for being, and let me let you know, Beverly was involved with the study committee meetings and the original bill dealing with the gang prevention for the state. So keep in mind, Chatham County is the model for the state. And that's why we made this a local law and a local bill. Now we're trying to set the trends for other cities that need our help. I want to give this last nugget before we close. We're working on a hip hop town hall meeting for radio for our young people, and I won't reveal that. You know that there are 2 urban stations where we reached out, waiting to hear back from them, asking to do a town hall meeting where our young personalities would take the lead, because they listen to them. They listen to them on radio, and let's hear from the young people. Let's get their input. And this time, you know, I know that years ago they did it, and I hear the biggest critique is that nothing happened. We want to take their information and start to take it in parables and to put the plan together to keep them involved, get them involved. They've got to be a part of this. We can't do it without them. You know, we need their involvement. So we'll give you an update on that, and we do appreciate everyone for coming on today. And I want to keep our agreement. It is now 10:59. And
before we close out, Representative Gilliard, I just want to give a shout out to Ms. Trotter. Had a situation with a young man about 3 weeks ago, and called her, and she brought her team out the next day and met with this young man. He was contemplating getting into gang activity, really didn't know what he was doing, and was having some issues with dealing with school. She came out, she brought, I think, 4 members of her team, and we started out, the ladies, trying to talk to him. And one of the men that was there, forgive me, Ms. Trotter, I don't remember his name, but he said, y'all, let's go outside and let's talk to him. So the men took this young man outside. They talked to him for about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. And I went outside to get the keys to my car, and I left something in my car. And when I got outside, he was laughing. The young man was laughing, and they made an impact on this young man, a young man that we, the quote unquote females, could not make. So I just wanted to publicly thank Ms. Trotter for her team, and also to say, yes, Ms. Trotter, your intervention, it has worked for this family. And I just wanted to salute you in front of Representative Gilliard and the other members on the call today.
thank you. Awesome.
Thank you so much.
The work that she does every day. Thank you so much, Ms. Trotter and Savannah Youth City.
So I wanted to thank Kevin Biggins. He was one of the young men that served on the Intervention Commission Board. I called him. I said, this is what you're doing, right? So Mr. Kevin Biggins, who's on the Intervention Commission, he was one of those young men. He was actually a young man that took him outside and talked to him. So he's on the line now.
All right. Great. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you so much for your everyday work. This is everyday work also. But thank you so much for everything you do. And with that, and thank you, Dr. Gale. We appreciate Savannah State University so much. And with that, we're going to sign off, and we will notify you in the next 2 weeks for our next meeting. And we ask that you prepare to roll up your sleeves. And we say 2 weeks because we're behind on this meeting, and we're trying to stay in tune with at least the second week of the month. Monica, thank you so much, and all of our media partners who have joined us on today. Thank you so much, and have a great day.